Welcome back to Coaching Through the Bible, the portion of Vayeshev on teams. Typically speaking, when we think about teams, we normally immediately go to our favorite sports teams. Think about the different people who played on those teams, the superstars and the role players, the coaches, even perhaps the owners, the wins and the losses, and we debate who are the greatest teams of all time, which teams achieved at the highest levels in all of history. And sports is often really the environment when we talk about teams. Additionally, people think about work teams, the people that are on their team in their offices, in their businesses, in their partnerships, in their companies. Who are those people? What roles do they play? Rarely do we think about the term team when we talk about the Bible. And actually, the term team actually doesn't come up really anywhere. At best, you get the idea of nations or groups of people, tribes, but not necessarily viewed or talked about in the concept or in the lens of teams. Lauren Wolf, is a management consultant, wrote a book called The Bible on Leadership. And in one of the chapters on team development, he makes that point. It's very much often spoken about as groups rather than in the concept of teams. Or any of these concepts in terms of being developed in the Bible, they're not. So we're sort of extracting. And so it is that when we look at the beginning of this week's Torah reading, in the story of Joseph and his brothers, Jacob, Joseph, and the brothers, that we don't look at them as a team because they're a family. And so when we think about family, we think about groups of brothers or bands of brothers. We don't necessarily think about the children of Jacob in the concept of a team. But if we simply just change the lens a little bit and we look at them as a team, then many of the very powerful concepts in team building, team development, team management, and team rehabilitation, for lack of a better term, really do come to the fore, and we really can learn a tremendous amount about team building from them, the things to do and the things not to do. In his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni, who's also a very well-known management consultant, goes through 5 reasons why your team isn't successful. Through a very powerful business parable, which is sort of the way he goes about his books. They're really interesting and they're easy reads. We developed some very key concepts in business management and work life. And in the 5 dysfunctions of a team, he writes that there is sort of a pyramid of 5 factors that go into why a team doesn't work. And it's built in the pyramid style. The bottom of it, the first dysfunction, is an absence of trust. The second dysfunction is a fear of conflict. The third is a lack of commitment. The fourth is an avoidance of accountability. And the fifth, at the top of the pyramid, is an inattention to results. And one really builds on the next. And the core of it, at the bottom, at the base, is an absence of trust. When there is no trust amongst members of a team, it's very hard for them to succeed. It's very hard for them to even imagine succeeding. It's very hard for them to even move and really get in any sort of progress at all. And the reason that is because everything else relies on having that trust. But trust isn't just anything. As Lencioni mentions at the beginning of his description and greater detailing of that first dysfunction of absence of trust, he says, trust is the confidence among team members that their peers' intentions are good and that there is no reason to be protective or careful around the group. In essence, teammates must get comfortable being vulnerable with one another. There's an idea of vulnerability, that they really have to trust the intentions and the goals of everyone on the team. And the leader has a very unique role in that as well, with respect to building that trust amongst the team members. Perhaps, as he writes in the book, that the role of the leader, first and foremost, is to exemplify and show that vulnerability himself or herself to the rest of the team and in front of the team. And in so doing, being able to share and being able to put certain things out there builds the trust and builds the confidence in the team that things are going in the right direction. Each one of the different layers of dysfunction are built on the others. Because if you have an absence of trust, then you definitely are going to have a fear of conflict. Teams that lack trust, as he writes, are incapable of engaging in unfiltered and passionate debate of ideas. Instead, they resort to veiled discussions and guarded comments. Meaning that in the course of a team, if you trust each other, then you can share and you can air grievances, and you can have conflicting ideas about where the team should go, and then you can build on that and you can get to decisions, you can get to a place where the team is moving in the right direction, it is focused on its mission, and it's focused on its results, and it's going together. In the Bible, we have examples of situations where groups of people get together and they're effectively teams, albeit not in the terminology that we might use in business practice. So you have the 12 spies, effectively sort of a team. You have David putting together his initial army and his initial force before he becomes king. Before him, you have Yiftach, the prophet, the judge, who also has sort of a ragtag group of people who become his team. And then you have the children of Jacob, the 12 tribes. Far be it from me to say anything of the nature that the family was a dysfunctional team. I don't think that's the right terminology, but you can see sort of the ideas that are brought out in team development echoed in the story of Jacob and his sons. When you read that story, it's a painful story to read. There's no question about it. If you're a parent, or if you're a sibling, or if you work on a team and things aren't great, or things aren't going well, then you can very much feel and connect and empathize with Jacob's circumstance, with Joseph's circumstance, or perhaps even being one of the other brothers in that circumstance. And so it's interesting to sort of delve into that story, peel back some of the layers to sort of see what's going on there. And right off the bat, you see that there is a tremendous lack of trust amongst the brothers. And where does that come from? So the way the Torah seems to write about it, the Bible describes it, is that there's a level of hatred and there's a level of jealousy, and it accrues to Joseph. And unfortunately, it appears that Jacob isn't helping either. And so where we need an opportunity for them to trust in the mission, perhaps, what they're supposed to be, to trust that they're all in it together, even if they bring different aspects to that story and to that mission, there needs to be that greater level of trust. And then on top of that, as you go through the different layers of the dysfunctions or the ideas of what builds good teams, right? The opposite of building dysfunction is building success, is this fear of conflict. When Joseph comes and speaks and shares his dreams with his brothers, none of them speak. Jacob speaks. And what he says simply seems to try to quell the moment and quiet what's going on under the surface, but it's hard to not be aware of what's going on under the surface. It seems even Jacob is aware of what's going on amongst the brothers, so that when he sends Joseph to the brothers, perhaps there's an idea brought out by some of the commentaries that he's hoping in that moment to create unity among the unit and to create some solidarity among the tribes and effectively to create a better team. He knows what the mission is. He knows where the Jewish people are heading, the people of Israel are heading, what needs to happen from them. They need that cohesion. They need that unity. They need that singularity of purpose, of mind for the mission that's to be becoming the Jewish people, the people of God, the people of the book. And so he's trying to force it on some level. He's trying to make it happen on some level, but it's lacking very much the key components, what makes for great teams. Everyone has their unique abilities. We don't bring 5 superstars together on a basketball team and win championships. We bring together a group of people who complement each other, a group of people who work together. Some are superstars and some are not superstars. Some are role players. Fit together to mesh into what becomes an excelling and superstar team. And one of the things that comes from some of the other literature on this, it's really important to sort of think about when we're talking about the coaching part of this specifically, is when you're coaching a team, so there are a lot of components going on. Each of the individual members of the team need to be coached and worked with. The collective unit needs to be spoken to and worked with and trained and how to be a better team. Some of this stuff can be dealt with on the way in hiring practices. If we have certain ethos and certain values, certain principles that we as business people hold to and live by, then on the way in, when we're bringing in potential new candidates to join our teams, to really explore those with them in advance to see whether or not they're a good fit. But what's important also in the coaching moment is a couple of really key things. One, there's a difference between coaching the people and coaching the issue. So you really want to focus on coaching the people and consulting on the issue and the problem. Really going in and talking about the people. In the book, it's a terrific book called The $1 Trillion Coach. It's written by three of the founding members at Google about a gentleman by the name of Bill Campbell, who was the $1 Trillion Coach. He coached some of the greatest high performers in Silicon Valley. It's a veritable all-star cast of people from the greatest companies that exist in the world today, most profitable, most successful. And therein, they talk about the idea that Bill Campbell was a phenomenal coach. First and foremost, he cared about the people. And so, as he writes, and they write in the book, when you care about the people, first you have to care about the people. That there's a notion that as you're the leader or you're the coach or the person working with that group of people, caring about the people and showing empathy and connection with them helps you care about the people and helps you care about their success. But even further, when you coach the people first, you'll get to better results and to better outcomes. Because by working with the individuals, really hearing where they're at, what's going on under the surface with them, really extracting from them all of the things that are interesting about why they're working and what they're doing, all the fears and concerns about them, then you get to better outcomes on the conflict issue. And you can then consult the conflict issue better. So you coach the people first, and then you consult about the problem or the issue. You care about the people first, you build that trust with the team first, you create an environment where healthy conflict can happen, and therefore the outcomes and the results that you're looking for are there. And so what's learned out, just on a basic level of the story of Jacob and his sons, is this idea that there perhaps was more to do. When we talk about the idea that, yes, the Jewish people, the people of Israel, were destined to go down to Egypt, and there are different ways that they could have gone down to Egypt, perhaps they could have gone down together as a unified band of brothers, and not in the manner in which they went down. One brother going down sold as a slave, the other one's going down to try and rectify and fix the situation and try to create something with their family, with their father, to fix what they are part of, what has broken. We get to understand on a deeper level what it means to be part of a singular, unified unity. And to flip it over for just 10 seconds here at the end. Think about the band of brothers that are the Maccabim, the Cheshmonaim, the Judah and his brothers who are at the heart of the story of Hanukkah. When one looks at the book of Maccabees and reads about their story and reads about their victories, notice also the way it's written. It's written in the plural. Every time something is happening, yes, Judah is the leader, but every time things are happening and things have to get done, it's written in the plural format. Everyone is participating in it. And so when we have this contrasting groups, teams, groups of brothers, we learn a tremendous amount about what we can do and how we can improve the teams that we are a part of and the teams that we work with. Have a great weekend, a Shabbat Shalom, and for those celebrating, a happy Hanukkah.